India and Pakistan seem to be on the brink of a military conflict after India launched missiles into Pakistan and Kashmir. The strikes came after a terror attack on tourists in the Indian-controlled part of Kashmir last month. The two neighbouring countries are used to conflicts. They have fought two wars over control of the Kashmir region. But there's growing concern that recent events will lead to dangerous consequences. Here to talk further about this with me now is Dr. Amar Sohal, lecturer in the history of political thought at King's College, London. Dr. Amar, thanks for joining us. Let me ask this obvious question, which is, how serious is this situation at the moment, do you think, given what's happened before?
I think it is fairly serious, actually. Rageh, thanks for having me on. We've got to a point now where de-escalation is a must. These are two nuclear-armed nations with a history of conflict, as you rightly say, and with grievances against each other. But we are at a stage now where one wouldn't want this to escalate. Who knows where this may go? We've already seen that the Pakistanis have retaliated to last night's targeted attacks on terror camps in Pakistan by the Indian forces by attacking the Indian-administered town of Poonch just a few hours ago. And so, yes, I would say that there are certainly concerns about where this might go. These are, as I said, nuclear powers with a history of conflict. So certainly concerns all around.
I mean, around the world, I mean, not just here in the UK, but around the world, it is the fact that they are nuclear-armed powers that is so concerning to people. And you also said that de-escalation is a must. How is one, and I know, having spoken to the Pakistani High Commissioner in London a few days ago, before the conflict began, he said that there were third-party countries, major powers, that were working towards this. Do you see de-escalation as a reality, or do you think there's more rounds of tit-for-tat attacks that will have to happen before that's a reality, that there's an escalation that's coming before a de-escalation?
I mean, that's a million-dollar question, right? What I would say is that there has been a proxy war that has been launched by the Pakistani side ever since the dismemberment of Pakistan into Pakistan and Bangladesh in 1971. And the Indian response to these incursions and attacks, not only in Kashmir, but in fact elsewhere, famously Bombay City in 1993, and I think in 2008, the Indian side feels that it can't constantly receive these attacks and do nothing. And so this kind of low-intensity warfare has to end somewhere. And so targeted operations on terror camps has been the response. And I think there was an appetite for that across the political spectrum in India. This is not just a BJP or Modi decision. This is a kind of consensus position in India. Now, one may say that that will satisfy Indian political opinion and Indian public opinion, but will the Pakistanis be happy with this? Will they now want to retaliate themselves? And so we'll have to see over the next few hours, over the next few days. This is an ongoing live situation. So I'm going to have to duck your question there, I think, as the historian rather than as the military expert.
Well, no, I mean, it is, as you say, a million-dollar question that nobody can answer. But it's important to sort of address the issues around it, which you did very, very well. Could I just ask you, in very broad terms, this issue of Kashmir between India and Pakistan is decades old, really since the sort of partition of India and Pakistan from the very beginning in the 40s. It's been there. Do you think there is a realistic prospect of this ever coming to an end, or do you think that it is part of the historical narrative now of both countries?
I think there is a possibility that it may come to an end one day. I mean, we were close to it in the noughties, as it were. An agreement was almost struck between Musharraf, the Pakistan military dictator, and the Indian government. Those negotiations began under the BJP and Atal Bihari Vajpayee, the Prime Minister, and then under the Congress when Manmohan Singh was at the helm. And for various reasons, that agreement on basically firming up, if you like, the de facto border in Kashmir as final, with some kind of cross-border mechanisms for movement and even shared legislative powers and bodies being created. That didn't materialize. But it's not to say that it, could re-emerge. But I think we're a long way from that right now. And the history of Kashmir, the Kashmir issue, is actually extremely ideological for both states. For Pakistan, it's the unfinished business of partition and the idea that, the quite antagonistic idea that Hindus and Muslims cannot live together. And therefore, Kashmir is the unfinished business of partition because it's the part of Muslim majority India that never came to it. But of course, the logic of Pakistan and the so-called two-nation theory collapsed in 1971. And, this is all actually kind of, retribution for that dismemberment, I suppose, of Pakistan. From the Indian point of view, there are two arguments, right? One is that from the kind of establishment, the old establishment of the Congress, of the secular Congress, which founded the Indian Republic, the idea that no, Hindus and Muslims can live together. And in fact, Kashmir being the only Muslim majority territory left in the Indian Union or with the Indian Union, it became a kind of symbol. But of course, for Hindu nationalism, which of course is the ideology of the BJP and of Modi, the great pretender to the Congress's throne for many decades, if you like, for Hindu nationalism, it is in fact an old ancient Hindu territory, Kashmir, which is the kind of crowning, the crown on Mother India. And in fact, it has a Muslim majority population, but for Hindu nationalism, that is a traitorous population, a population, a treacherous, I should say, population. And so it has to be, repressed and subdued. And those are two slightly different points of view. How that plays out in reality is, of course, complicated and isn't so black and white. But that's broadly where these big forces in the subcontinent are coming from. This is not just any old conflict. It's an ideological battle over the very soul of what the subcontinent actually is.
Okay, Dr. Amar Sohal from King's College London, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.